Okay, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone from wherever we are hearing me. I am Abiodun Adegoke, and I am the staff of Innovation Hub for Inclusiveness, Empowerment, and Social Development, SieDi-Hub. SieDi-Hub is a youth and women-focused non-governmental organization that was incorporated on the March 2022, and with the aims to build a pool of young people who can strategically advocate for measurable changes in the communities. Also, our mission is to improve the quality of life for people living in undeserved communities through advancing healthcare, livelihood empowerment, and socio-economic programs. We have our mission, which is to see communities with improved socio-economic and human capital, and to see a nation with equitable and inclusive global health standard. So we've gone through some series of programs like the Youth Engagement Policy Labs, that's YEP Lab. Then we have the Transforming the Opportunity Youth Program. Then we have the Community Health Youth Champion Program. We also have the Online Safety Education for Women and Children Program. And yesterday, we had a physical program in schools just to activate safer internet clubs. And the aim of the club is to empower high school students with skills for safe online navigation. So this afternoon, we have an interesting topic before. I have an interesting topic before me, and with me we have two amazing speakers that will be giving us that will be joining with me through this series even as we proceed. So the topic before me this evening that we'll be talking about is digital safety and online behavior, nurturing responsible online conduct in students and children. And I'm going to be introducing our speakers. We have two persons. The first person is Miss Jelilat Abidoye. Miss Jelilat, if you can hear me, can you say hello to our participants?
Hello, good day, everyone. I'm really excited to
Good
be here
evening.
with
You are
you.
welcome. You are welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for joining us. Then we also have before me here Mr. Ikape James. I think his network is kind of bad because he was online not quite long. So, Mr. James, his network is bad.
Go
Okay, we'll
ahead.
proceed. Okay, we'll proceed. Right now, I'll be introducing reading the speaker's biography, and I will start with Miss Jelilat. So, introducing Jelilat Abidoye, Generations for Peace, Nigerian Country Manager. Jelilat is a dedicated builder and women's rights advocate with a decade of experience. She skillfully leads teams in grassroots peace building, specializing in project management and gender-based violence initiatives. She is committed to local resource utilization to foster positive impact in communities, especially to women and girl child. Beyond her professional pursuits, Jelilat is a passionate reader, movie enthusiast, and a seasoned traveler, exploring new places and culture for unique stories. Once again, can we welcome Ms. Jelilat to the platform to our fireside chat this
Hello.
evening, our participant.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here in our midst. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. So quickly, I'll be moving forward by introducing our next speaker, Mr. Ikape James, which I believe will be joining us as soon as his network is okay. Introducing Ikape James, the Executive Director of Me Chat Nigeria. Ikape is a dedicated advocate combating human trafficking for over 10 years. His expertise spans prevention, rehabilitation, and reintegration, collaborating with NGOs, governments, and international bodies. He is a computer science graduate, enhances capabilities through training, and holds numerous um, certificates in development. He is passionate about educating on human rights, health, and education. Mr. James, if you can hear me, I hope you join us soon as your network is okay. So thank you so very much once again, our speakers. Thank you for joining us. I hope we have an amazing session with you. So the topic, like I said the other time, that we have an amazing topic before me. The topic before me here says digital safety and online behavior. That's nurturing responsible online conduct in students and children. The aim of this particular topic is to explore strategies for nurturing responsible online conduct in adolescents, the young ones, focusing on digital safety and positive online behavior. And as we all know that digital revolution has brought about opportunities for adolescents and even young ones to connect, learn, and explore. But along these opportunities, we have some significant challenges that are related to digital safety and responsible online behavior. So with these increasing accessibilities of the internet and digital devices, adolescents and young adults are more exposed than ever to potential risks such as cyberbullying, online predator, misinformation, and identity theft. So before I proceed, I would like to welcome Mr. Ikape James. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Ikape, if you can hear me, please can you say hello to our participants?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for having me here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Mr. Ikape. Yes, it's because of your network. I just read your biography to a participant now, and I hope to have an amazing session with you. Like I said the other time, Mr. Ikape, my name is Abiodun Adegoke, and I'm a staff at SieDi-Hub. So I will be the moderator for this amazing session at our Fireside chat. Mr. James, can you hear me? This network is Mr. James. Okay, I believe his network will soon be okay. So like I was actually doing some introduction concerning our topic, and like I said that this exposure to online space has actually affected our adolescents and our young ones, and it has exposed them to some risks like cyberbullying, like I said, misinformation, and identity threats. So because of this, we brought out a particular topic in order to tackle this particular challenge, and we are actually reaching out to parents. Yesterday, we actually reached out to students in school, and it's better safer, safer internet club in schools. So today, we're reaching out through this platform to parents, to educators, and to policymakers that we all have a collective responsibilities to equip our youth with the knowledge, skills, and values that are necessary to make informed decisions and protect themselves online. So we will be moving towards our interactive session where I'll be inviting my speakers to enlighten us on some points. And I have some series of questions here. Oh, I wish Mr. James is here.
What is happening now?
Mr. James, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Please, I'll just have to switch off my camera to.
Mr. James.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll be going through the interactive section. Okay. All right. Thank you. So thank you very much. So I'll be going through the interactive section now. I have some series of questions here, which I would like it to be interactive. I'll be asking one by one. So my first question I'll be directing it to Miss Jelilat. Miss Jelilat, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, Abiodun.
Okay. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Abiodun, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, my first question is directed to you, and I would like you to just brief us on what online safety is. Like our topic
So
says that
when we talk,
we are dealing with a particular topic that has to do with digital safety and online use in few minutes.
all right, thank you so much for that question. Like I said, it's an honor to be here on this platform today, sharing my experiences with you all. When we talk about online safety, we're referring to a set of practices and measures and all behaviors that is aimed at protecting individuals and their personal information from any potential risk and threats encountered while using the internet. Okay, so it encompasses various aspects. It includes safeguarding our personal data. It includes preventing cyberbullying. It also covers harassment and avoiding online scams, protecting against malware and viruses that can invade our personal devices and cause damage, and ensuring that there's security in our online transactions and our financial information. And so online safety involves being aware of any potential risks and dangers that we can encounter while using the digital space. While using the digital space. While using.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jelilat. Thank you so very much for that brief and wonderful definition. Okay, like definition and what an online safety is. So, Mr. James, I don't know if you can still hear me. It seems his network is not actually okay. Mr. James, okay, let's move on because of our time. So, please, Jelilat, what are the principles you feel should guide online behaviors? Like after we've already known the meaning of online safety and is to help our young ones. So what principles do you think should guide our online behaviors? Because we understand the fact that a lot of our young ones are already into online space. So what principles do you feel should guide the online behaviors?
Thank you so much for that question, Abiodun. When you use digital space, you have to understand that it's a global space, right? A global space means we're going to interact with people from diverse backgrounds. And this diversity includes identity, cultural and religious backgrounds, people from different ethnicities, people from different races. And some of these guidelines will help us ensure that, we have very engaging, safe interaction in the digital world. One of them is respect and empathy, right? We have to treat each other with respect and kindness, both in our words as well as in our actions. And we have to do this regardless of the differences that exist between us. We have to be empathetic and understanding towards others, especially when we're engaging in discussions and debates. We should consider how our words and our behaviors can affect other people and can affect their feelings as well as their well-being. So the example that comes to mind when I talk about respect and empathy is the kinds of engagement we have when we're using Twitter, now known as X. So when using the X app, it's an app that is led by heavy debates and conversations around socio-economic issues, political issues, religious issues, and these are issues that are very sensitive to individuals. So oftentimes when we engage in conversations like this, we lose sight of the goal, which is to have better understanding of different um, viewpoints, and we often lead the conversations we let our emotions get into the way and lead the conversation, and we say hurtful things towards the other person. And what we have to understand is now, before conflict is often what happens in the media, in communities at the grassroots, eventually escalates. But now we're seeing that conflict can escalate from the digital space if we don't have any respect or regard for people's diverse views. Another thing that comes to mind is privacy and cybersecurity. So we have to respect people's privacy. We should not be in the business of sharing people's private information without their permission. And um, one of the things that comes to mind when I talk about privacy and sharing people's information is, now everybody is quick to want to share some good news, or some good news or even tragedy that happens to them. Talk about marriage proposals, talk about weddings, talk about childbirth, talk about the new job, talk about a promotion, even the loss of a family member. We're always very quick to want to share this news with the world. And one of the practices that some people engage in that is dangerous is when they take the lead in sharing personal information about people without waiting for them to share the news themselves. Two examples will come to mind when I talk about privacy online. One, I lost my mom last year, June, and she died at about midnight, and my sister was away in school, and we didn't want to inform her because we didn't want to risk her well-being. She was away in school. It was in the middle of the night. We didn't want anything bad to happen to her because there was no one that can reach her at that time. And so we said, okay, we're going to keep this from her. She was preparing for her exams. Let's keep this from her. We're going to wait till the morning, and then we're going to send someone to pick her from school and bring her home for the final preparations and rites for the parent. And immediately that happened, we informed some close family members, so they'll also be available in the morning. And one of them quickly posted this on her WhatsApp status. And as soon as she posted it, my sister happened to be online at that time, and she saw it and she was distraught. And so these are some of the examples we give and say, if someone is not sharing some news, do not be the one to share the news on their behalf, unless and until they give you the permission to do so. A friend of mine also got engaged a couple of years back, and she sent me the private video of her engagement ceremony. And I saw it, celebrated with her, and I kept it private. And then, a couple of weeks later, she texted and said, "Oh, by the way, I'm not sharing this engagement news yet, so just keep it to yourself." And I was so grateful that I did not post it anywhere. I just, felt privileged and honored that she shared this beautiful private moment of herself with me. And to proceed to go and share this news online would be a breach of her trust, and would be sharing a private information about her without taking caution or precaution as to why she wanted to keep this news to herself. So usually what I advise is wait for these families to share the news themselves or share that personal information themselves before you proceed to do so on their behalf. We have to look at authenticity and critical thinking. Today, everybody is trying to share one form of information or content about themselves or about the world with other people online. And so it's, more often than not, we find some kind of misinformation in these things, in this kind of content that we come across. And so when we're using the online space, excuse me, we have to be authentic and honest in our interactions. We have to avoid spreading any form of misinformation or creating fake identities and accounts. But on the flip side, we also have to be mindful of misinformation shared by fake accounts. One of the things I do is when I come across a content and I look at this content and it just doesn't sit right with me, and I read through comments and I see some comments that don't sit right with me, one of the things I do is due diligence. I go and check out the account or the profile of the person sharing that content or the person sharing that information. More often than not, I find that it's a private account, especially when it's on TikTok or Instagram. And once I see a private account, as far as I'm concerned, this person is not to be trusted. Okay. And so this is some of the things that we have to be mindful of. What kind of where do we get our information from? Who are the people sharing this information? What are their beliefs? What are their principles? And so on and so forth. We also have to engage in continuous learning and digital literacy. We have to improve our skills on how to navigate the online world effectively. This includes understanding how algorithms work, recognizing online threats, and protecting against scams and phishing attempts. So one of the beautiful things about social media, especially, is that it works with algorithms, right? So basically, this is like a huge computer term that basically means they gather some specific information about individuals and tailor the content we see, including promotional content we see, to those specific information about us, including things we say, right? So, for example, sometime back, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about skincare products and skincare routine. And throughout that week, whenever I hop on TikTok or Instagram, the first couple of contents I see are always about skincare. Okay. And so this is how the algorithm works. Another thing is I was searching to buy something online recently, and because I searched for that particular item, every time I come across paid promotions, it's always about that item, and so they push a lot of that item content to my page or to my notice on Instagram. And so this is how algorithm works. The things we say, the things we search for, the content we spend more time on are the kinds of things we often see more of. So we have to also practice responsibility and inclusivity. So we have to take responsibility for our online actions. Okay, we have to recognize that the things we say and the things we do often have consequences, and it also has impact on others in the broader community outside the digital world. So we have to foster an inclusive online environment that welcomes people from diverse backgrounds and perspectives and voices. And we should also try to challenge discrimination, harassment, and hate speech. When I talk about responsibility, one of the things I remember is when one person on TikTok some time ago started an account, and the purpose of the account was to share information about um, people with tics. It's a particular health disorder, so to say. And they were just sharing how their struggles, how they have learned to navigate life, the good, the bad, the ugly, generally of their life. And one thing that happened was children started picking up on this and faking that disorder in order to garner support and to get followership and to get viewership online. So we have to recognize that when we're doing something, whatever it is we're doing, it has real life consequences to people out there who are consuming our content. Consent and safety, again, this is just reiterating that we have to obtain consent before sharing information, especially personal information online. We have to protect people's personal information as well. And we have to be careful of what kinds of personal information we share online. Now we're very quick to take selfies, take very cute photos. We look at the background, want to see such a beautiful background. Like Chinasa was asking me earlier, can you face the window so that the light is face out? Because we want to get the best picture, video, whatever it is we want to put on the internet. And if we're not mindful of what kind of information is captured in our photographs and our videos, this can potentially put out our personal information out there. One lady on TikTok recently posted a video saying, guess where I am? Oh, wait, I'll tell you, I'm in a hotel. That's all she said. Before 24 hours, another person was able to pinpoint the exact hotel in the exact country, the exact station she was at, using minor information as minor as the plates she was using to eat in the hotel. She was able to decipher from the logo on the plate, from some street signs where she took photos from, put all this information together to know where exactly she is. And so these principles are really necessary in guiding our online conduct and behavior to ensure our safety in the digital space. Thank you. Over to you, Abiodun. I think you're muted.
Wow, wow, this is powerful. I've learned so much. I'm trying to write where you were when you were saying this up down some point. I was trying to jot down. That was why I muted myself and actually removed myself from the camera. Okay, before I proceed, thank you so very much for that response. It was actually detailed. Thank you so very much. I think Mr. James' network is not really helping us this period because it has been online and offline. But before we proceed, I would like to recognize our participants that are watching us. I can see some of them here. I can recognize Ms. Rachel, Mr. Samuel, Mr. Ubong, Ms. Ray, and Mr. Okeze. I think Mr. Samuel from Akwa Ibom. Wow, thank you so much for joining us. And you can also invite your friends because this is actually a topic that everybody needs to be aware. We need to be aware of whatever is happening because almost everybody are in the online space, including the children. They don't even know what, even parents don't even know what their children are doing sometimes in the online space. Actually, when we had this session in schools yesterday, we got so much response from the students telling us a series of things that their parents did not even know about. And this is the reason why we brought out this particular topic that even our parents, the educators, even the policymakers are going to be aware. So as for us to just mitigate some of the risks that are liable to just our children can just face because of this online space. And I would have loved to direct my next question to Mr. James, but he's not online. I don't know. I think his network is not really okay. So Miss Jelilat, please, you will bear with us because of his network. We'll just continue with you to have an amazing session with you. Thank you so very much for the cooperation. So Miss Jelilat, I haven't said a whole lot concerning the principles that we feel to guide the online behavior, which you've right said some things like avoid online scam, and we should respect the child's privacy and also to consider how our word affects other people. And you've said so many things that each other was just able to jot some. And thank you so very much. And I believe that even as I'm learning, our participants will be also learning as well. So my next question is Ms. Jelilat, what do you think are the most common threats that students and children face today because of the online space? Can
Okay,
you
so
hear me?
before I go to, yes, I can hear you, Abi. Thank you. Before I go to talking about threats, Chinasa is asking for me to talk about more about phishing. So phishing is when we have emails sent out to people from reputable organizations, pretending to be those organizations and asking for personal information like credit card. In our own case, it would be like asking to impute our ATM card information, and so on and so forth, or asking for other personal information to supposedly either boost our accounts, especially when it's banks, and so want to update your banking information, or it might be from a network, MTN, Airtel, Nine Mobile, and so on, and say we want to add to your information with us, and so we're asking you to reveal ABC and XYZ. And so oftentimes the best option to do that is either place a call to the company directly, or visit any of their offices. But one thing we're grateful for right now is that most of these companies send out emails or text messages and say none of our staff will request you to share any personal information from you, right? So that's what phishing is like. Oh, I hope I answered that question. Now let's go to talking about threats. Some of the online threats that children face today. One of the most common is cyberbullying. Cyberbullying and harassment is one of the rampant threats that children face in the digital space today. So we're talking about things like um, 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 making comments about the person's physical or the child's physical appearance, making comments about their background, the kind of family they come from, and the challenges they're dealing with in life, or their performance at school. I've seen a couple of cyberbullying examples that I can share. So one thing you should know is I'm a heavy TikTok user, and in fact, some people might even consider me a TikTok addict. So I watch a lot of TikTok videos, and I have learned so much of how people interact and use these spaces from my own personal experience. And one of the things that come to mind is, seeing people who are chubby being bullied because of their weight, and also seeing people who are anorexic. Anorexia basically means people who have an eating disorder, who are unable to eat because of fear of being too fat, and so they starve themselves to a point where they're too thin. I've seen a woman who has gone she has gone beyond recognition due to this condition, and she keeps getting bullied by people, making comments saying, would you not eat? You need to eat some burger, you need to eat this, you need to eat that, making insensitive comments about her physical appearance. And this has only exacerbated her mental health condition, that it has even worsened her situation. It has not really necessarily helped. And the interesting thing is that cyberbullying doesn't necessarily have to be only on social media platforms. We have gaming communications as well. A lot of our children these days, have or interact on gaming platforms. Some of these online gaming platforms are live, and so they can interact with other strangers online, and they can experience cyberbullying from these platforms. So it can be through messaging platforms like WhatsApp as well. Maybe they belong in a WhatsApp group. It could be their school group. It could be some kind of friends group, and they get bullied because of that. So bullying can happen physically, and then now it has turned to cyberbullying, where people who don't even know the person are bullying that child. That's one threat children face. Another threat children face are online predators. It's actually really sad that predators now have access to millions of children online that they can manipulate, and that they can groom, and they can exploit. Another example I will bring here is one of the accounts that I came across on TikTok. This is an account it's like a family account. The woman is basically sharing her child's journey through, throughout the child's life. She posts random videos of the child walking, of the child swimming, of the child eating, basic things, very natural, basic things that children do. And another mother on TikTok noticed something that even I myself didn't notice, because I'm not a mother. Obviously, I see a cute child online. I like the video because it's so beautiful to see a toddler just living a stress-free life and worry-free life. But here's the thing she noted. She noted that her videos always had hundreds of thousands of saves, because on TikTok you have the option to save a video so that you can go back and watch the video anytime you want to, or make reference to the video anytime you want to. It means that it has not disappeared from your For You page. And so these hundreds of thousands of likes for her was a thing of concern. And so she went into a deep search of who are the people liking these videos. And majority of the people liking these videos happen to be adult men. Adult men, suspicious adult men, liking videos of a young child, a toddler that's about 2-3 years old. Okay, and that's for like toddler of that age. When we talk about children, we're also talking about teenagers, adolescent, 12, 13, 14, 15. We see these children online, and unfortunately they can come across predators who, they're unsuspecting children. They're just online to have fun or learn new things or engage, interact with their friends. But they can come across predators who manipulate them and exploit them and groom them into something that they want. In fact, I remember that one of the things that happened recently in Nigeria was a mother took her child to register for JAM. And in the personal information requested, she put down her own number instead of her child's phone number. And before they got home, she got a WhatsApp message from one of the staff in JAM asking, texting, chatting her and saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful. I registered you at JAM just now and I really like you," and things like that. The mother was furious. I said the mother would be. And the mother pretended to be the child and say, "But I'm just a child. I'm just, I think 14, 15. I'm not sure. I can't remember." She said, "I'm just 14 years old. I'm just 15 years old." It's like, yeah, you don't have to tell your parents. Nobody has to know. The person was calling. And then she pretended again to be the child and say, "I can't pick my call now. My parents are around." I said, "Okay, when you go back to your room, we'll talk better." And the mother brought this to X, former Twitter, now X. And she was furious, saying, "How could Jam let this happen? Their information is supposed to be private. It's not supposed to be exploited and used for such purposes." One of the good things that happened as a result of this was a lot of people, empathized with her and joined, their voices with hers and called Jam's attention to it and demanded that Jam address the issue immediately. And that staff was arrested. But that's one mother who happened to use her own child's phone number. How many other children have this been happening to? These predators masking to be a nice adult, just helping out and so on and so forth. That's another threat our children face in the online space. Another thing is inappropriate content. So every time we go to sign up for a new app or a new platform or something, most times they ask us to input our date of birth or our age. And one of the reasons why these apps demand this is so that they can push age appropriate content to individuals. Remember, I talked about algorithm earlier, and I said that the algorithm helps tailor content and promotions to specific individuals' interests. And so, one of the things they also do is age appropriate content. And so, for example, if somebody signed up to a platform like TikTok, they're most likely not going to see adult content that are very violent or sexual related content or pornographic content on their page, because they're still kids, they're still children. But when you sign up to accounts as 18-year plus, we're most likely going to see those things. But sometimes our children want to have unlimited access, or we, the parents, unknowingly just sign up and say, okay, maybe 18 plus, or allow them have access to our own accounts and our own social media space. And then they're exposed to these pornographic and violent content that can adversely affect their mental health and emotional well-being, that eventually will affect their attitudes and behaviors, both online and offline. Identity theft is another thing that children suffer from. This is an example that I was giving you of the child whose phone number was taken to text her. Something other people do is they can steal basic information that we put out there and use it to develop an identity using our own identity, but pretending to be us online and using that to exploit people who are close to us. Children face these threats because people can use it to scam unsuspecting individuals. One thing that people on TikTok have been saying recently is sometimes scammers have a way of calling you using your own phone number or your family's phone number and say, oh, they're in distress, they need money, and so on and so forth. And if you don't verify and call a family member back immediately, you send money, you send money because you want to help out that family friend, and before you know it, your money is taken away from you. Another threat is cybersecurity threats, malware and malware and viruses, right? They can cause serious harm to our devices, invading our private spaces. And this is something that hackers use sometimes, using malware and viruses to invade our devices and steal important information and use it to their advantage, to exploit these children or to manipulate these children. And so these are some of the threats. This is some of the few examples of threats that children face in the digital space. That I can share at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. This is awesome. Miss Jelilat, thank you so very much for your response. That was detailed. I wrote down some things here in my notes, and like the threat that children and young ones are likely to face, even with this online space. We've talked about the bullying aspect, the online predators, identity threat, also cybersecurity and the likes. Thank you so very much. And I believe our audience are actually learning more as they were supposed to this period. So with me here we have the executive director of SieDi-Hub here with me. She's online. Mrs. China, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi everyone. Hi, this is a very engaging
Good evening.
conversation.
Good evening, ma. Good evening,
Good,
ma.
yeah, good morning from my own, good morning
Oh,
from my own time.
good morning. Good morning. It's a privilege to have you around. Thank you so very much for joining us in this session. So she also, Mr. James, are you with us?
I don't think James is still in the studio.
Oh, his network is bad. Okay, so I would also like to direct some of my questions to Ms. Chinasa, and I believe that she's here for us to also enlighten us from her hand. So I haven't talked about Ms. Jella has actually talked about online safety principles that should guide the online behaviors. She has also talked about some of the threats that our children and even young ones they faced with this online space. So, Mad, how can you help us and help the parents? How do you think parents and the educators can help to mitigate these threats, these risks that we talked about?
You hit me with the hard question. You could have hit the experts with the hard question. Okay, so thank you so much, Jelilat, for the extensive explanation and detailed discussions that you have provided. Like I was, like the Abiodun would say, I was jotting down. I have my pen and my
Yes.
paper. I was really jotting down, like, can you explain more about what phishing means? Because a lot of people do not actually know what that is and they fall prey. In fact, a lot of Nigeria. And before I answer your question, a lot of Nigeria falls so much, into the box of fishing, because these things are innovative in the way that we use it in Nigerian context. Like they send it on WhatsApp for you, set it up in a very nice way. Sometimes even experts to fall prey of phishing. So thank you very much for explaining that. Now, when we come to children and relationship with parents, I think it starts from there. How you build relationship with your child will determine how open or how close they will be to you. If you are a parent who is super commanding, so they know you as the bad cop parent, right? Every child knows who is the bad cop and the good cop in the family. If they know you are the bad cop parents, they will come to you for hard stuff like school fees, like big troubles, but they will not come to you with emotional issues. And that's where we need to check ourselves as parents, because we can't stop the trend of technological innovation and the immersion in our daily life, but we can build our emotions in ways that we can navigate them safely. And for adults, imagine if it's difficult for you to cope with everything screaming in your face all at once. Now imagine how and what that is doing to a younger person who does not have the cognitive capacity first to discern what is right and wrong, or the capacity to push back on certain information that comes to their faces. And I would say that, I like when you talked about algorithm. Algorithm is super smart now. Like, it's not even when you check. Sometimes now it's like witches and wizards. They are following us everywhere. You can be thinking of something. If you think that's in close to your phone enough, you start seeing adverts on that issue area that you were thinking on. So I don't even know how that happens. So imagine if technology is infiltrating our personal space this way. And as adults, we can't cope with it. How are our kids doing with that? So it starts with being able to have open conversation and listening with our kids, because parents sometimes don't listen. We feel like we know the best. We should exert our authority. And yes, in our context, it's okay. You exert your authority on your child and say, I need you to do this. You are suspended. You are this. Go to your naughty corner. Those things work for disciplinary purposes, but it doesn't work for bilateral communication between a child and the parents. So we have to check ourselves there, because that's where it starts. Secondly, when our kids come to us with small problems, don't wish them away, because they don't have the ability to understand the impact of all those information yet. Like you ask a young person, how are you feeling? It's either they are angry or sad. Those will be the response. But there are other feelings in between. They are unable to communicate. So until you probe in their language as a mother, you won't get that information out of them. And to you, angry and sad are just dichotomous, right? But there are far more issues that they are facing. Two, you have to be attentive to the languaging of the things they watch. And I'm not just basing online safety on what people see on internet these days. Even downloadable tools that you can hand off to them, like some parents will be like, I don't allow my children go to Facebook and Instagram. But you download cartoons, right? You download educational materials that come with adverts. You download certain things and put in their own offline devices that they are watching. My dear, those things are coming to them and you can't stop it. That's the truth. You can't stop it. But you can prepare your child to know when to swipe out information that they feel is not important to them, to know when to turn off content that they feel is affecting their ability to cope properly. They shouldn't be able to know how to push back on a couple of things and be like, no, this interaction is not healthy for me, because you as a parent have taken it, as a responsibility to guide the emotions of your child. Very well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Ma, for this amazing response. Like you've said, I was trying to jot down, and you said a whole lot concerning the response, the response of parents and educators in also helping us to mitigate this particular threats. I think I could remember yesterday when we went to school, and during our interaction with the children, I mean with the students, one of them was actually talking about how his mother is always guiding him his phone when he goes to school. When he comes back, the mother will want to ask, what have you done today? The mother will even collect the phone from him, search a whole lot of things. And I remember the principal was asking him, so he gave us a series of things, but he was like, he does not have anything that could make him break those rules. So I believe if your parents be more interactive, not be autocratic now, also helping mitigate this particular threat. Thank you so very much for that particular response towards this section. So, Ma, I will also be asking you the next question before Mrs. Christina.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay, so I said I'll be directing the next question to you before I move back to Miss Jelilat. And having known the roles and what the parents and educators should do in helping to mitigate this, please can you provide some practical tips safeguarding personal information and this privacy we are talking about while navigating through the digital space? What are the because we are actually talking to the parents, the educator, and even there are some students, there are some young ones that can also be watching. What are the practical tips you think we can take in order to mitigate this, and it will also help everyone that is listening to us? Thank you so very much.
Okay, so I to before I answer your question, I see something in the chat and I'm just happy about it. And it reads from Rachel. It says sometimes you can protect your child from the internet, but they go to school and get exposed to this harmful information and content from their peers. So you see, this reemphasizes the conversation that we had last. Like you cannot protect. There's no how you can, you know, protect your child from the global movement of digital technology. The best you can do is go back to primary ABC of raising a child as a parent. It still go back to that ABCD. If you raise a child in a very healthy home, the child will communicate things to you. The child will know what is right. You can't be able to. It's not that they can cope and do everything because we expect that a child will know, a child will do this, a child will do that. But having open conversation with your child would enable that for you to mitigate things that they face as they navigate life and growth and adolescency and youthful exorbitance and the whatever we call it these days. Someone was saying that youth of these days, they work with the speed of time. So as a parent, you should also know that's how their brain is functioning. That's how information is functioning as well. And then you prepare yourself around that. Back to your question, I will say that the practical tips that we can use are they are even in our faces. Password your device, such as your phone. That is basic. Whether you are using face factor or you are using PIN number or you are using the diagrammatic, whatever it is that will give you what we call baseline security, do that first. Same thing with like your SIM card. There's a way you can pin password your SIM card. Even if someone, snatches your phone, they cannot have access to your contact unless they have the password to your SIM card. That is basic. Then there are other layers to it, like your social media platforms. Do your password. Now there is heightened security. Always update your security. Go to the settings of every social media platform that you're using and check what is the latest security updates that they are giving you. Do that. And then, in addition to that, you can use two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is quite independent. You download that, and it gives you random numbers that you use to activate your platforms when you can. You download the app on your phone, and then you use that. Even when your phone is taken away, the person cannot just do the two-factor notification on your account and get in because there are other layers of what you can set in. Besides two-factor notification, there is also in all social media settings, you can screen out what you want or what you do not want to see. Like you use setting code and words. For instance, when we set up our Facebook, when I set up my Facebook account and the pages of the organizations that I manage, there are keywords that I highlighted. Anytime those keywords screen to my Facebook, it automatically removes it from the conversation because I don't want to share content that does not align with my principles and goal or with organization principle and goal. You can do that for yourself as well by putting out words you don't want to hear or see come through you. For instance, word like fuck, shit, right? You can screen them out from your child device, from the media platform they are using. Anytime someone make a comment with those keywords, the entire comment will not come to to your this thing. Then third is you can restrict how many people you interact with. See, the world is a global space, and why we say it's a global space is because everything is in our face now. It's not even about commerce and industry. It's literally about technology and innovation. People now sit in Nigeria and converse with people all over the world. Kids are also doing that, and content are being screened to their faces through those environments with different traditional and normative values, which may or may not align with yours. So you have to be careful how you do that. And what I have done, for instance, I'll tell you emphatically what I have done for my own social media platform is to limit how many people I see their views, how many people see my views as a public and as a contact, because those are two different things. Then how many people's contacts can come to my timeline? Those are very important, because you can do that unless you approve a content. It will not show up in your contact. Like people complain about being tagged for different things. People are seriously tagging people for sexual content these days. They just want to put it everywhere. Even as we are talking, somebody in this chat, I've just removed it, put their phone number and their WhatsApp number. Why are they putting their WhatsApp number on a chat in a conversation that is about internet safety and wellness? So consider that uncensored materials are coming to our faces every day. But how do you protect yourself and your ward, your child, the person you're caring for that is underage or that is adolescent youth? How do you protect them, practically from this information? Thank you. You are muted.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Ma, for that address. I believe now we should be able to we've learned some of the ways that our parents also set rules and standards in order to help us to this particular topic we are talking about, how they can help us mitigate the online the threats that our children and our young ones face in the online space. Um, okay, we have a particular comment from Mr. James. I know he has been trying so much to join this conversation, but his network is bad. So he said, I think this comment is actually a response to what Ms. Chinas was saying. This is why you must establish open and honest communication with your child. This will encourage them to share their online experiences and concerns without fear and punishment. She has talked about that and this is directed to our parents and even our caregivers, that they should do well to establish open and honest communication with their children. And by that, they will be free enough to what to share their experience. Because as Ms. Rachel has said, there are some things that happen in school that they will not even talk about when they get home. But I believe when there is open and honest communication between the parents and the children, they will be able to open up to them if there is any kind of threat that is happening to them. Thank you so very much once again for that response. So, Miss Jelilat, are you with us? Miss Jelilat.
Yeah, I can hear you, Abiodun.
Okay, so just in a few minutes, I want to just give us some enlightenment concerning this particular question I'll be asking you just in few minutes, because our time is fast spent. And also, I want to believe that our audience are actually learning. I could see from the comment section that they are really, just as I'm learning and I'm jotting down, they're also learning as much. Thank you so very much, even our participants, for joining us in this. So, Ms. Jelilat, um, I just want to ask if there is any emerging trends and technology that cause these new challenges for digital safety, and if there is any emerging trends and technologies, what do you think parents should do in order to adapt to these particular challenges and also to address them? I don't know if you get my question.
Emerging trends and technology. When we talk about technology, one of the things that first comes to mind is, our smartphones, right? Uh, when I was growing up, I think I finished my secondary school before I got a touchlight phone. Now, well, we call it a handset, and now you can see toddlers having a smartphone. You see young adolescent children asking, "Oh no, I want the iPhone 15 Pro Max." Asking for advanced smart technology smartphones. And one of the things we have to consider in these emerging trends and technology is that they're here to make our life better. They're here to make our life easier, to make communication faster and more efficient. But at the same time, because we have um, this endless access to, because we have this access to endless data and information at the palm of our hands, it's easy to get lost in the world of in the digital space. So to speak to this, I would say one of the things we have to consider as parents is when we're getting smart technologies for our kids. The second thing I wanted to mention about technologies is also, besides smartphone and iPad, is also gaming systems. All these PS gaming systems, and our children will spend hours upon hours just emerging technologies. When it comes to emerging trends, we see a lot of things, especially in the social media space. You know, I keep making reference to social media space because that's where a lot of the danger lies, but that's also where almost every one of us find ourselves. And so, we see a lot of trends. One of the trends that we see now, even, social media owners doing is, they keep updating these apps, and they keep bringing new things and new features on these apps. And if we are not, like Chinas has mentioned, and Rachel made reference to, even when we protect our kids, because they still interact with other children, they're likely to come across information that we safeguard them from, with during the interaction with other kids. And so one of the things we have to do is we have to educate our kids on the danger of um, um, engaging in those spaces. And so it's not just saying, "Oh, we're putting restrictions on your mobile phone, or putting restrictions or safeguarding mechanisms on your iPad, or we're also monitoring your gaming. We're putting we're giving you a screen time of gaming time and all of these things." But it's also about making them understand the danger, right? Because, for example, I give an example of a woman who, for instance, has been earlier. There are kids who put down their phone number, and as soon as they see an adult that they suspect, they quickly go to their parents and say, "Hey, mom, hey, dad, this is what I just came across." Right? And so educating our kids and letting them understand the danger of this, bringing to their awareness the danger that lurks in the beautiful, beautiful world of online and social media and the internet, is going to help us navigate these emerging trends and emerging technologies, right? So we also have to have open communication. We have open communication with our kids. When they come across content, they should be open enough to, share with us what their thoughts are, what their experiences are. We should also be open enough to let them understand what it means, and what these things, translate to. We should be able to set clear boundaries and say, "Oh, okay, this is something you do not do online." Right? We also want to be teaching, leading by example. If we say, "Oh, for example, you're not allowed to watch violent content or pornographic content," that we don't want to do so ourselves, especially when we're around the kids, because you're telling me not to do it, what makes it good for you and not good for me? And that's an explanation, and no matter how much English we speak around it, it still wouldn't make sense to a child. So the best way is going to be leading by example, because children watch our actions, and not just our words. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much, Ms. Jelilat. Thank you so very much for that um response. Like our time is fast spent. I can't believe that we've actually spent more than 1 hour on this platform. Thank you so very much for um coming through. I just have one last question which I'm asking. I'm directing towards Ms. Naza. Just in 1 minute, because of maybe the adolescents that might be watching now. I have a particular question for them. Just in 1 minute. Ma, please, how can we empower adolescents and young adults to become responsible digital citizens who contribute positively to the online communities? How do you think we can empower them? Your mic is muted.
Oh my God. Okay. Thank you very much for this question. Um, I think that everything we've said here culminates to answer you. But I'll just draw out the fact that responding to the online safety and insecurity issue is a multifaceted process. One, I know today we are talking to parents and caregivers, right? Because they're the one closer to the children. But there is also the part of government in terms of policies and procedures and guidelines. We are also there is also the part that has to do with law enforcement, because it's one thing to make policy, pass them, beautiful thing. There are rules and steps and guidelines of, if you do this, this would happen to you, right? That can be done, even though I cannot emphatically say right now that we have, that standing in all levels of our government. I know we have a cybersecurity law in policy in Nigeria at the federal level, but how that is domesticated, I still cannot answer you that yet. But notwithstanding, local governments like states have certain, areas that they are making guidelines around how they manage these issues. But there is an aspect of enforcement that has to be strengthened. For instance, how do we enforce when a child is being bullied online? How does that go? It's not just like, we are not the one that sent you to, what were you looking for inside Facebook? You know what I'm saying? So how will government strengthen the policies, whether it's international or local policies, to bring to book those who perpetuate this issue? Because the proliferation of online and insecurity and abuse is because, it's cross boundary, and people can get away with the issue if there is no policies that provide a bandwidth for where and how you can be punished. The second aspect has to do with education. And in education, we take it back to the institutions that educate our society, like the schools, like the churches, and, religious bodies, not just school, and the civil society space. How are we prioritizing, including, adolescent online mental wellness to our programming in the way we design it? For instance, you have been, proudly talking about what SieDi-Hub have done yesterday in activating the safety space club in secondary schools. That's just a drop of water in a big ocean, because they are adolescents, they are youths, they are people everywhere looking for information, looking for guidance on how to navigate this space safely. So what we have just done is an inch into the length of the, solving the problem. There's also the parts of even those the institutions that built this platform. I am following closely, here in the US, where the people who own online spaces are being interrogated. They are being sued, and they were being interrogated by the US as legislatures on the impact of their platform on young, Americans and young kids generally, it shows that there is an aspect of legislation that has to come, with this. How do we make legislation for this to address this problem? How do we now translate those, laws, legislation into training, into educational materials, into awareness programs that would keep reinforcing the messages on how, young people can cope, and navigate themselves safely in the online space. So the list is unending. But even being your neighbor's keeper is one aspect of it. In Nigeria, any parent is a parent of any child. So even in public, when you see a child that is, behaving in a way they are not behaving before, and you inquire, if they are heavy digital users, like kids who use a lot of, digital device a lot, and they are becoming reserved or becoming quiet, a child who used to be vibrant is now quiet, reserved, and fixated on their devices, know that yes, they are doing something in that device, but whatever it is producing unhealthy scenarios for them that they cannot explain. You can be attentive, maybe not to talk to the child directly, but to address the issue with the parents and say, I'm seeing your child in a way that I feel concerned, not in a very insulting way, but in a way that you feel concerned that probably the child is, is facing some level of digital abuse online, and you might call the parents' attention to it. I believe every reasonable parent would investigate or try to find out before starting a war with you. So there are no straight cut way to address this issue rather than a comprehensive collaboration between different sectors to create awareness, produce educational material, produce legislative laws and policies, and make sure that those that need to be brought to book and those that need to be accountable for the platform that they provide do so. Thank you very much. Hello, Abiodun.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so very much, Ma. Wow, this is awesome. Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I want to use this privilege to appreciate Miss Jelilat for her time. Thank you for your response. Thank you for that insightful answers from you. And I believe that we've learned so much. We've learned a whole lot this evening, which our audience, our participants too. I believe they've learned so much from this session. So before we are rounding up, I'm rounding up now because we spent a whole lot of time, and I don't want to keep it us waiting at more. So I want to request from Miss Jelila to give us. Is she online? I think she has logged out. Okay, so I want to request from Miss Jelila to give us a closing statement, a concluding statement, just in 1 minute.
So today we have talked a lot about safety online. We've talked about ethical principles or guiding principles in conducting ourselves online. So overall, what I just want to say is that online safety is about empowering individuals. It's about empowering children in this context on how to navigate the digital world securely, confidently, and ethically, minimizing the potential of any risks and threats and any harm or negative consequences associated with online activities. So, in other words, it's just all about helping our children find their way across the digital world without having to deal with the negative impacts and harmful consequences of the digital world. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope we continue conversations around protecting children in the future.
Thank you so very much, Miss Jelilat. It was Awesome having you around on our fireside chat. Okay, before I proceed, I want the executive director of this China's executive director for SieDi-Hub to also give our audience a concluding statement just in 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Jelilat, and thank you so much, James Ikape. I know you made a lot of efforts to be on this platform, and it happened to us all. Um, the thing we call online internet, it happens to us all. But I appreciate that even when you couldn't join us, you continue to contribute through the social platform that everyone is viewing us through. Please, next time when we call, because this is it's a full blown program. On our online education program, it's a full blown program that we are doing. We started last year in SieDi-Hub, and we continue. It's like one of our thematic areas for our 5 year strategic plan. So we'll be having like different engagement platforms where we, bring up and talk about issues around digital safety for younger generation. So whether be it organizational capacity to protect data, the data, especially for organizations who interface or work with young people and children. So we've done training around that. How do you protect this data so you don't expose them, and the privacy issues, be it the school adolescent youth program or general societal awareness. We will continue to engage in different conversations about this. Thank you so much, and thank you, Abiodun, for coordinating this. Thanks. Okay, I think without much ado, we should wrap up the program. We have exhausted the conversation. I mean, I know we can continue on this, but it's good to give a tip and then come back. Otherwise, if you give everybody the whole sermon for the year, when they will not come to church again. So thank you so much to our online audience. I'm glad that you joined, you were contributing, asking questions, providing clarifying and comments. Let's do this again. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Ms. Jelila. Thank you, Mrs. Chinasa.